Okay. This sign says Python. Everybody pay attention. Python. Python. Thank God. I am so thankful that worked. That would have been really embarrassing. I almost didn't do it. Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Good. Let's do a fresh piece on there. I might have messed it up. Okay. Plus, I'm sweating, so.
Yummy.
Oh. Thank you. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to teach everybody how to do that in 5 steps in like 25 minutes. Let me do this so I keep track of time here. Okay. Here we go. My slides are paper. Step number 1 is buy a cube. Okay? Everybody see that? Okay, good. Step number 1 is buy a cube. I'm going to make this super easy because I'm going to tell you which cube to buy. So let me get rid of that because I made a mistake. We're going to go to chrishunt.co/buy, oh, that's a U, buy cube. Okay? chrishunt.co/buy cube. There's like hundreds of cubes you can get. You're not going to find one better than that one, I guarantee it. Okay. You'll be surprised. A lot of people don't get started because they're not able to actually buy a cube. They never actually do it. Okay. So step number 2 is scramble. Scramble the Rubik's Cube. Okay? So let me give you a quick demo here. Here's a solved cube. This is how you scramble it. Everybody see what's going on here? That's it. Scrambled. I've never met a person who can't scramble the cube. Even when you try to solve the cube, when you're first getting started, you will scramble the cube. Okay. Done. Okay, step number 3. Memorize. So this is what I was doing over here behind the curtain. Okay? You need to memorize this Rubik's Cube, the scrambled Rubik's Cube, so that when you put on the blindfold, you can solve it. So I'm going to show you 2 ways to do that. A slightly more difficult way and then an easy way. Before we get into that, though, I'm going to teach you a few basic things that you need to learn about the Rubik's Cube before you can continue. So look at the centerpiece here. It's the one with the sticker on it, right? No matter how I turn the sides, that sticker doesn't move. It's always there. Okay? And it's the same for every other centerpiece. Blue isn't going to move if I move the sides here. Black isn't going to move if I move the sides here. The centers don't move. So those are your reference point when you're trying to figure out where a piece goes. You look at the centers to determine where it needs to go based on the colors of those centers. If the center's blue, that means that whole side is going to be blue. If the center's black, that means that entire side is going to be black, right? So let me take this apart real quick, show you a few other cool things about the cube. This used to happen automatically with older cubes. They just fell apart. But these new ones are really nice. So this is the axle, the center axle, that everything else is revolving around. That's why they don't move. The centers just kind of rotate in place, okay? The other thing you're going to notice is there are two types of pieces. This is an edge piece. It has two colors on it. On a solved cube, it looks like this. There are 12 edge pieces. There's 4 in the top layer, 4 in that middle layer down here, and then 4 in the bottom layer down here, okay? The other type of piece, see if I can find one, is like this. It's a corner piece. It has 3 stickers. That's how you can tell them apart. The other way you can tell them apart is they're in the corner, right? So a corner piece on a solved cube looks like this, and there's 8. There's 4 in the top layer and 4 in the bottom layer, okay? So that's all you need to know about the Rubik's Cube to actually start memorizing it. So like I said, I'm going to show you 2 different techniques for memorizing the cube. Who thinks that they have a really bad memory? Anybody? Yeah, so basically everybody in the room. Okay, well, I have a bad memory too, but who remembers what word was on the sign in the beginning? Python, right? And then who remembers what I did over here immediately after holding up the sign? I solved the cube, right? Of course you remember that. So your memories actually aren't bad, you just don't know how to use them, right? Similarly, we could go point out each of the 2 restrooms if we wanted to, and you can all give me great directions on how to get there. You could say, walk out this door over here, take a left, go down the stairs, and right at the bottom you're going to have the women's restroom first and then the men's restroom. We all could do that, and we weren't trying to memorize those things. So you can use that same technique when memorizing the cube. You turn it into a story or a picture. So the first technique we're going to look at is a picture. So let me set up the corners real quick so that we can see a good example of something to memorize. Just ignore what I'm doing. This does not matter. This is not relevant. Sorry, I'm having mic issues. Okay? Uh-oh. We need glue.
Yeah. There?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, when I dropped that mic, I just messed up the cube, so now everybody gets to see me solve the Rubik's Cube too. I'm sorry about that. That was not intentional. Okay, ta-da. Okay, now let me get back to what I was doing there. Okay, finally, we're ready. Okay, so now we're going to memorize the corners. Notice on this cube, see how the edge pieces look good? Because all we're doing right now is memorizing the corners. But notice the corners are out of place. This is the exact same technique that a lot of people use to memorize the cube. This is the technique that I use, but it's slightly more advanced. We're going to start with it because if this makes sense to you, this is definitely the way to go. If this doesn't make sense, wait 2 minutes and we're going to go over a much easier method. So what you want to do when memorizing the cube is always hold it the exact same way. So I like to hold it with green on top and white in front. Your choice doesn't matter, but be consistent. It's extremely important, so you're always looking for the same pieces. The next thing you want to do when memorizing the corners is look at this front top left corner. Always start here and ask yourself, where does this corner need to go when it's in the solved position? So you can do that by looking at the colors. This is green, orange, yellow. So I look for the green center, the orange center, and the yellow center. And the corner must have to go here because it needs to go between all 3 of those colors, right? So this is the only spot that it can go. So in your memory now, this is what you're making in your mind. This piece of paper is my brain, okay? So here it is. This is the cube, a very accurate cube. And that first move we memorized was into this back right corner. So I'm going to imagine a dot right there in that back right corner. Keep your finger on that spot, then ask yourself, where does this piece need to go? Well, again, you just look at the colors. It's blue, orange, white. So I look for the blue center, the orange center, and the white center, and I know it must need to go right here, okay? So in my mind, I draw a little line down to that second spot, right? Like I said, this is super advanced. If anybody's getting this right now, you're amazing, okay? So once we get this spot, we ask ourselves, where does this corner need to go? Same exact thing. It's green, orange, white. So we look for the green, the orange, and the white centers, and it must need to go right here. So we continue our picture up to that third spot. And finally, this is our last corner we need to memorize. It's blue, yellow, orange, and it belongs between the blue, the yellow, and the orange center. So it belongs in this bottom right-hand corner, okay? So we draw that last little line that goes down there. So now, this is the picture we need to memorize. And if we were to draw that separately, it might look like a fish. Okay? So that little picture right there represents your memorization of the corners. If you can remember that picture, you've now memorized exactly how the corners look. Okay? Done. Now we're going to look at the edges. And for the edges, we're going to use that the simpler technique. Notice we're memorizing the corners and the edges separately. That's important. Whenever you do a blindfold solve, you do the corners first and then the edges. And when you solve, you do the same thing. You do the corners and the edges. And you can use different techniques for each of those. So let me go ahead and fix the corners here real quickly. Almost done. This is the last corner. Okay, there we go. And finally now, let's set up the edges, and we'll memorize the edges using a much easier technique. We're going to use a story to do that. Okay, here we go. All right. So notice our corners now are solved, right? We took care of that. So now we're going to memorize the edges, and we're going to do it a different way, like I said. The trick that everybody uses when they do this in a competition is they go around the cube and assign a letter to every sticker. So I like to just go in alphabetical order. I say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, okay? So now when you memorize the cube, just like the corners, always hold it the same way. Notice green is on top, white is in front. Except now you're going to start by looking at the upper right-hand spot here. So we're going to ask ourselves, where does this edge piece need to go? It's green and it's red. So we look for the green center and the red center, and we know it must need to go right here. So we take that letter, A, B, C, D, and we write it down in our memory. So this piece of paper, again, is my memory, D. Okay, so now we keep our finger on the spot, and we say, where does this piece need to go? It's white and it's red, so it must need to go between the white center and the red center, right? It must need to go right here. So what letter is this? It's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Okay, so L. All right, almost done. We got two left. So we keep our finger on the spot. Where does this edge piece need to go? It's blue and it's white. So I look for the blue center, the white center, and I know it must need to go right here. Well, this is the letter U. So let me write that down again. U. And last edge piece, orange, yellow, needs to go between the orange center and the yellow center, or right here, which is the letter N. Okay? N. So now we've got 4 letters. How do we memorize 4 letters? We turn it into a story. So I like to break it up in sets of 2 letters, and I make a word. So the first word I think of when I see D and R, or D and L, is drool. Okay, like saliva coming out of the mouth. I don't know the Spanish equivalent. okay? And then when I see a U and an N, I kind of pronounce them and I think un. And then the first word that comes to mind, potentially offensive, is underwear, okay? When it comes to memorizing, the stranger the words, the better. So now, this is how we memorize edges. Drool, underwear. So if everyone wants to take 1 second now to just quickly look to the person to your left or your right, don't stare, just take like a quick mental snapshot, and then close your eyes and just imagine drool coming out of their mouth, all over their chin, down their neck, all over their shirt. You can see it's like staining their shirt. You feel bad, right? So you want to help them out. The only problem is we just got back from the gym, and all we have is our gym bag, which is dirty underwear. They don't know that though. So you offer the underwear, and they use that underwear, the dirty underwear, to clean the drool off of their, oh, it's so gross. So now you will never forget drool underwear. You will remember this for the rest of the day, and as long as you want to. So you have memorized the edges on a Rubik's Cube, okay? Good. Ta-da, that goes away. So that's the memorization step. You can use the same story technique for corners if you want to do that too. So now we're on to step number 4. That was it for step number 3. Step number 4 is blindfold. Okay? Step number 4, blindfold. Okay. So let me give a quick demo. This is what a blindfold looks like. Okay, this is a sleeping mask. You can wrap it around your eyes and then fasten it in the back, and it goes over your glasses. That's it. Does anyone need help putting on a blindfold? No. I can't see you, so. Okay, that's it. Step number 4, done. So finally, the last step to solving a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Step number 5 is solve the cube. Ta-da! That's it. We're almost done, right? Okay, step number 5. So here is our cube. This is the one that we just memorized. Does anyone remember the words? Drool underwear. Very good. So we have that same configuration right now. It's now time to solve it. I'm going to show you the secret right now to solving the Rubik's Cube edge pieces. Here it is. Keep this a secret. This picture that you're looking at right now, this amazing drawing, is called an algorithm. And an algorithm is just a set of moves. This complicated string of letters is just a set of moves on the cube, and it does this very specific thing. It swaps this edge piece with this edge piece. But you could forget all about that and not even pay attention, because I'm going to show you what you need to do, and you don't actually need to know what the algorithm is doing. This is just for people who are actually interested in what they're doing, okay? So let me explain how to read an algorithm. Notice there's a bunch of different letters. When you're holding the Rubik's Cube in your hand, exactly the same way as you memorized, I have green on top and white on front, each face has a letter associated with it. So the left-hand side is L, the front is F, the right side is R, back side is B, and then we have U for up and D for down. Okay? So now looking at this algorithm again, you'll notice the first move we need to do is an R. That means that you turn the right-hand face 90 degrees in the clockwise direction. That's it, okay? You might see something like a prime, like this guy right here, the little dash, like R prime. That means turn the right-hand face 90 degrees in the counterclockwise direction, or the other direction. The only other modifier you're going to see is a 2. Pretty obvious what that means. That means turn that side 2 times. 1, 2. Doesn't matter which way you turn it, because it's the same no matter which direction you turn it, right? Okay. So now you know how to read this algorithm. I'm going to let you do it in your free time. Don't worry about memorizing it right now, but I already have it memorized. Surprise. So now it's time to solve our cube, solving the edge pieces using just that algorithm, okay? Here's how it works. What was our first letter? R. Someone say R? D. Thank you. Drool underwear. Okay. So, our eyes are closed, our blindfold is on. What we want to do is take that letter, wherever it may be, and move it to this spot. in the upper left-hand edge piece, okay? So when I think of D, I go A, B, C, D, it's already there. So now we do that algorithm, and I'm going to call that algorithm our fixing algorithm. So I'm just going to do that algorithm real quick. Done, okay? So now we think about the next letter. The next letter is L, okay? So we think A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, okay? So notice this sticker isn't in this spot. So we got to do a little bit of setup before we can do that fixing algorithm. So a nice way to set up this piece is to just go like this. Whoop, L prime, okay? Now we can do our fixing algorithm, the one that's on that sheet of paper. And now we undo whatever setup we had to do to get the piece into that spot. So we can do an L and just move it right back down again. Done. Now we're ready for our next letter, which is U for underwear, right? The U sticker is right here. So what setup move do we need to do to get this sticker up to this spot so we can do our fixing algorithm? Well, one way to do that would be to do a D prime, now it's here, and then do an L2, now it's on top. Really fancy, I know. Do the fixing algorithm, and then undo those setup moves. So you're going to turn this side back over, and then move this D back here, okay? And then the last letter that we memorized was an N, which is in this back spot right here. So this is actually a pretty complicated setup move. We're going to move this edge piece over here, and then up, and now do that fixing algorithm now that we've moved it here, and then undo that setup. So we'll move this piece down and these bottom two pieces back over to the side. And now you'll notice we solved our edges. So that is what we would do with our blindfold on. So now I'm going to set up our corners just like we had them a few moments ago. And the corners are going to be a little bit different. Sometimes I forget what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. Cool. So here's the secret for the corners. Ta-da! It looks very similar, except it's not. But it's the same exact process, except you're going to be using a different algorithm. Same process. Notice the algorithm's a little bit longer, but this one is actually easier to do. It flows a lot better. This is going to be swapping the front left corner with the back right corner. That's all it does. But again, you don't even need to know that. Just pay attention, and whatever I tell you is going to work. Let me find, oh, here's my picture. Oh, I think I got it. All right. So remember, this is our little picture for the corners. A lot of people like to use this picture technique for the corners because there's fewer pieces, so it's easier to imagine a picture like a fish or like this. For me, I memorized the whole cube this way because it's a lot faster, and it just makes sense to me. But the story techniques works for most other people. So here's our cube. It's now time to solve the corner pieces, and we're going to use that different algorithm, and it's exactly the same as the edges, except we're trying to move our target piece to this back right spot. Then we do our algorithm, and then we undo whatever setup move we had to do. So I'm going to do this one a little bit quicker. Here's our picture. Our first corner was right up here, right? In the back right. So it's already in the spot we want it to be. So now I'm going to do that fixing algorithm. And done. Now we're ready to go on to the next corner. Looking at our picture, we went from here down to the bottom of the fish mouth. Okay, if I follow where that might be here, it's going to be down to here. So this is the next piece. So I want to move this corner up to this spot so I can do my fixing. So I'm just going to flip it over, do that fixing algorithm, and then flip it back over again to get that corner back down where it was. 2 more corners and then we're done. Notice we have a line that goes straight up to the little hairdo of the fish. That's going to be this corner right here. And we want to move it to this back right corner so we can do that fixing algorithm. And a really complicated way of doing this is going to be to flip this over, now it's here, and then move it one way over here, now it's here, and then do another R2, and now it's here. Do our fixing algorithm, the one on the sheet of paper, and then we undo those setup moves. And finally, our last corner at the little foot of the fish, if fish have feet, but they don't, would be right down here in the back right bottom corner. So again, we're going to move that up to here, and we can do that by doing a D prime and then an R2. Moves it right back there. We do that fixing algorithm and undo those setup moves, and then we've totally solved the cube. So that's all there is to it, to solving the cube. You memorize the edges separately, and then the corners separately, and then you put on the blindfold, and you could have used either a story or a picture. And then when you solve it, you do it exactly the same way. You solve the edges first, and then the corners first, or the corners and the edges. The order actually doesn't matter. If you want to learn how to solve the Rubik's Cube in less than 20 seconds with your eyes open, so a totally different technique, but a lot of people that get into blindfold solving want to learn how to solve it quickly as well, because this takes a little bit of time. You notice it took me like a minute. So if you want to learn how to solve it in 20 seconds, I just did a talk like a year ago. chrishunt.co/20 seconds. Okay? And I'd also be extremely happy to answer any of your questions if you don't want to watch a video at Chris Hunt. I am Chris Hunt in real life and on the internet. And that is all. Thank you.